I'm going to teach you how to make a lemony artichoke and sun-dried tomato chicken that is so tangy and so tasty, you're not going to believe it. And the best part, it's so easy to make. Sally, that girl, in the kitchen. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Sally, that girl, in the kitchen. In today's episode, I'm going to teach you how to make a lemony artichoke and sun-dried tomato chicken. Yes, a delicious chicken that we're going to prepare in a pan with just a little bit of olive oil. So it's boneless, skinless chicken. I'm going to be using breast, but of course you can use thigh if you prefer it. And we're going to prepare the most delicious artichoke sun-dried tomato sauce using white wine and lemon and capers and just so much yummy goodness. But we're going to make this very healthy. This is inspired by something I used to eat at a restaurant, but in that recipe, they would dredge the chicken to make the sauce a little thicker. And of course, I'm sure they weren't just using extra virgin olive oil when cooking it, but I am going to use just extra virgin olive oil. We're not going to dredge the chicken, and we're going to add a little splash of something at the end that's going to give it that same cloudy-like texture as if we had used cream or butter, but it's going to be super healthy. And best of all, it's super yummy. It is so lemony and just tangy and delicious. The artichoke, you're just going to want to eat it all up, and the chicken is still juicy and perfect. So I am super excited to teach you how to make it. It's easy, so don't go anywhere. I can't overstate how delicious it is. So let's not wait another second, and let's get started. For today's recipe, you will need 4 boneless, skinless chicken breasts, which you will butterfly, or of course, you can use boneless, skinless chicken thighs, and if so, you want to also cut those fairly thin. You'll need 12 sun-dried tomatoes, which we're going to cut into small pieces, and we're going to be rehydrating those in some warm water. You'll need 1 teaspoon of onion powder, a half a teaspoon of garlic powder, a half a teaspoon of sea salt, some fresh ground black pepper to taste, 3 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, 2 cans of quartered artichoke hearts. Each can is 14 ounces, so you're going to want 2 of those, which equals 28 ounces. And of course, you're going to drain those. And then you'll need 4 cloves of minced garlic, 1 generous tablespoon of some mini capers, the juice of 1 large lemon, a half a cup of white wine, a splash of that tomato water. I would say we're using almost a cup really, so a little bit more than a splash, and just a splash of coconut milk or non-dairy creamer. That is going to finish off our sauce and give it that velvety mouthfeel without adding anything unhealthy. Super good. I'm actually going to be using low-fat coconut milk today. And I will add either one of those 2 ingredients that will not really alter the flavor of our recipe, so they are completely optional. I just love that it makes our sauce a little more opaque and just slightly creamier. And you will also need a large plate and some tongs, a couple of wet measuring cups, some measuring spoons, a scissor, a knife and a cutting board, and a lemon squeezer, or of course you can squeeze your lemon by hand, and a medium-sized bowl. You'll notice that I'm featuring here both the non-dairy creamer and the coconut milk, but I'm actually using a low-fat coconut milk, which comes in a can just like this one, because I already had one open, so I'm going to go with that today. And finally, you'll need a large skillet that has a lid, and either a silicone spoon or spatula or a wooden spoon or whatever your favorite tool for mixing is. So now that we have all of our ingredients and tools together, let's get started. The first thing you're going to want to do is prepare your chicken. Mine has already been butterflied, and I've patted down with a paper towel to remove any excess moisture. Then I added 1 cup of water to a microwave safe measuring cup, and I warmed it up a bit for about a minute. And then I'm going to grab my sun-dried tomatoes and a scissor, and I'm just going to cut those up right into that warm water. So I measured out a cup of water, and we're going to use that water in our recipe. So just continue to cut them until you've cut all 12, and we're going to just set this aside and let our water transform and our tomatoes rehydrate a bit. So then I'm going to go ahead and also squeeze out the juice of one large yellow lemon. And then I'm also going to mince 4 garlic cloves. And I'm also going to go ahead and drain my 28 ounces of artichoke hearts. So now I'm going to grab my chicken and I'm going to start seasoning. I'm going to add in a half a teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, and then a half a teaspoon of garlic powder. And then I'm going to add in some fresh ground black pepper to taste. I like plenty, but you can put in as much or as little as you'd like. And then I'm just going to go ahead and use a fork and just move these chicken pieces around because I want to make sure that all of the surface is seasoned, both the top, the bottom, all around, to just make sure that all of the chicken is nicely seasoned. Then I'm going to add in my 3 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil to my large skillet. And then I'm just going to turn my heat on to medium to allow that extra virgin olive oil and the skillet to heat up a bit. So now I'm just going to swirl that warm oil around, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my fork and I'm just going to place my chicken pieces right on the pan. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to slightly brown the chicken. Chicken breast especially cooks very quickly, and so will the thigh if you cut it thin. So you're really only going to cook this for 2 to 3 minutes on each side, and you're going to notice that it'll quickly start to develop some color. So what we're trying to do is to give it just a touch of color because of course we know that color is flavor. And so we're not going to overcook our chicken. We want to keep this chicken juicy. So we just want a couple of minutes on each side, brown it up a bit, and then we're going to pull our chicken out. We're going to use clean tongs. I'm going to pull my chicken out because I'm going to return that chicken into the pan after we cook our vegetables and prepare our yummy, tangy, lemony, delicious sauce. So I'm pulling my chicken out, and then I'm going to use that same pan while still keeping the heat on medium, and I'm not adding in any more oil. I'm just going to add my 4 cloves of minced garlic right on top of the pan, and then just move it around a bit for about a minute or so. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring over my artichokes. So they're already drained and ready to go, and I'm just going to get all of those artichokes in. And then I'm going to come over and add in 1 heaping tablespoon of mini capers. And then, of course, you remember those beautiful sun-dried tomatoes. I'm going to scoop those out, and I'm going to add those pieces right into my pan. But remember, we're not going to discard this water. This water is gold. It's flavor. We're going to use this water in our pan sauce. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move these around, just help those flavors come together. And then what we're going to do is we're going to cook these veggies first uncovered for about a minute or 2. We just want to create a beautiful base for our chicken. So I'm just going to stir these around and allow those artichokes to just brown up a touch. And then I'm going to add in the juice of 1 large lemon and a half a cup of white wine. And already the smell is out of control, phenomenal. I am drooling as I smell it because it's so good. Those liquids have created steam in the pan, and the smell is over the top delicious. And so that's it. I'm just going to stir it up a little bit more. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come over and we're going to cover this pan and just allow those veggies to cook for about 5 minutes to make them nice and tender. That's all they're going to need. And then after those 5 minutes, you're going to come in, you're going to uncover them, and I'm telling you, the smell is amazing. And then you're just going to come in and give this a little bit of a stir. And then you'll notice that the liquids have really been absorbed at this point by the veggies, which is a good thing because it's all flavor. So what we're going to do is we're making a little room. We're going to add those breasts back in. And remember, these are pretty much cooked. We're just going to warm these up for about a minute. But what we're going to do is we're also going to be using whatever juices our chicken released onto our plate. But then, of course, we're going to be using our secret weapons. We're going to be using that amazing tomato water, the water that we use to rehydrate our tomatoes. It's got a ton of flavor in it. So I have a little bit less than a cup at this point because the tomatoes absorbed some of the water. I'm going to pour in about half of that, and then we'll see if we need a little bit more. So you can eyeball this. I poured in about half a cup or so, and then I'm just going to stir those vegetables a little bit. And then remember I told you that we were going to be using something to kind of give our sauce that creamy mouth feel, because believe me, this is full of flavor. But we want to just thicken up the sauce a little bit without having to use flour or any additional fat. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab a little bit of coconut milk. I'm using low-fat coconut milk, but as I said, you could also use non-dairy creamer. I keep this in my fridge because I like to add a splash of it to my espresso in the morning. And so I'm using the low-fat version, but either the low-fat or the full-fat coconut milk, they'll both work just fine. And as I said, you could also use a non-dairy creamer for this. And what it does, it just gives that sauce a little bit more of a cloudiness, a little bit more of a silky mouth feel, but it really does not alter the flavor. The flavor is coming from the delicious lemon, the white wine, and the tomato water, and of course the juices that the artichoke have let out into the sauce. I'm telling you, so delicious. So I like mine a little saucier, so I'm going to add another about 1/8 of a cup into my sauce. And you see how the sauce has become a little cloudy by just moving our veggies and our chicken around a bit. We're releasing the little bits that are stuck to the pan and just creating a delicious sauce. I'm telling you, you're not going to believe how absolutely insanely delicious this chicken is until you try it yourself. It is so good. I cannot wait to get into it. So we're just going to turn our heat off. Our chicken is ready. Our veggies are ready. Our pan sauce is delicious. And then we're just going to take this off of the heat. And the best part is when we're going to get to taste this. I'm not even going to plate it first. I'm going to serve myself some first, and then I'll plate it to serve everyone else because it is so good. I cannot wait to eat it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring over a piece of chicken for myself. Look how beautiful the chicken looks. It's still moist and delicious. I didn't overcook it so that it wouldn't dry out. And then of course I'm adding a ton of veggies. And the good thing about this chicken is it's so satisfying and so hearty because you get to eat a ton of those artichokes, tomatoes, capers, so delicious, but so healthy and so lemony. And look at that delicious pan sauce that we created. So crazy good. I can't emphasize how delicious this chicken is. And I'm going to go in for a bite, but I'll give you a tip. You know, you can make these veggies without the chicken, and they're also phenomenal, served cold even as a salad. They're so good, so versatile. You can use them in so many ways. So here we go. I want to take a little bite of this. So delicious. It's perfection. Every time I make this chicken, I am in love. I am not exaggerating. It is so tasty between the tangy artichokes, those chewy tomatoes, the capers, the lemon, the wine. It's a party in your mouth. It's just so absolutely delicious. And the chicken stays moist and yummy. And just that little bit of sauce on top is just so, so tasty. It feels fancy. And it even tastes fancy. But you can make this on a weeknight because it's so easy. The veggies are so easy because we're using canned. I just can't stop eating them. They're so good. And the sun-dried tomatoes come in a bag. All we did was cut them up with a scissor and rehydrate them in some warm water. Honestly, it couldn't be more easy. So good. But I'm telling you, the flavor is super over the top, fancy even, from like a restaurant. So now I am serving a serving platter because no one needs to know that I've already had some. It's so crazy good. So I guess I'll share. Or who knows, maybe I'll just save it for myself. So how absolutely delicious does this chicken look? It was easy. We made it all in one pan, super simple, very, very flavorful, and full of vegetables. It's perfect for a quick weeknight meal, or it's so good that you could even serve it for a special occasion. No one needs to know just how easy it is to make. It looks fancy, it tastes fancy, but it's so simple and it's so good. And best of all, we made a healthy version, so there's no guilt. You're going to fill up with yummy vegetables and that delicious lean chicken just seared with a little bit of olive oil, and it's absolutely perfect, still juicy and super, super delicious. So I really hope you enjoyed today's recipe. And of course, I want to thank you for watching. And if you haven't yet subscribed, be sure to subscribe to my channel and to touch that little notification bell so that you get notified every time I put out a new delicious recipe. And of course, if you're not following Sally That Girl in the Kitchen on social media, please follow me as Sally That Girl in the Kitchen on Facebook, Instagram, and on Pinterest. And you can find me as Sally That Girl FL on X, Snapchat, and on TikTok. And don't forget that I also have an Amazon shop. So if you see any of the tools that I use when I'm cooking, you could usually find those in my Amazon shop. It's amazon.com/shop/ Sally That Girl in the Kitchen. But of course, I have that linked on my social media pages, on the top of my YouTube page, on the banner. If you're watching on a computer or an iPad, you can access that really quickly. And of course, I'm always responsive. So if you have a question or you need any information from me or just have a general comment about one of my recipes, I love getting pictures when you cook something and you loved it. I love hearing from you. So you can always reach out to me on Facebook and Instagram. Those are the best ways to reach me. And I absolutely will love hearing from you. So once again, I want to thank you so, so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Sally That Girl in the Kitchen.